Paul Finebaum, my man, had some things to say about Oklahoma State in relation to what Mike Gundy said about NIL. We're going to discuss that coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Noted SEC homer Paul Finebaum had some comments about Mike Gundy. Pure homer, and the Oklahoma State Cowboys relative to what Mike Gundy was saying about NIL and how people should quit calling him about trying to get more money for their players. And it kind of took the internet by storm. Let me just first say this before we get to Paul Finebaum's comments and before Oklahoma State fans try to come out here and ream me for fighting with Mike Gundy. I agree with Mike Gundy. There's a time for negotiations. There's a time for football. And there comes a point in time, and you see this in the NFL, where guys will shut down negotiations once the season starts, whether they're going to be on the 1-year deal or they're going to be, they got 2 years left on their contract. When the season starts, they're ready to play football. You see it in high school. We just talked about Michael Fasusi's commitment. He wanted to commit before high school, before his final season. You see that all over the place. Guys want to get their recruitment done before their senior season starts so they can just focus on football. So I don't disagree one bit with what Mike Gundy had to say, but here's what Paul Finebaum had to say. He said that program's already in enough trouble because losing Oklahoma from the Big 12 is a big blow to Oklahoma State's self-worth.
Yikes.
I've been to Stillwater. It's an interesting place to go to a game. But why in the world would you go play for Mike Gundy when you can play in Norman for a coach who understands where college football is today? Ooh. Jay, the floor is yours.
I mean, Oklahoma State's doing the barcode thing on the back of helmets, right? So It's going to be kind of interesting to see what that looks like when you get a touchdown.
Mike Gundy is pro NIL.
It sounds like it, right? I mean, in Gundy's defense, in which I hate to defend, he's 100% right on calling them about the collective once the season starts. Shout out to Gabe and Teddy. They kind of talked about this on their show on Oklahoma Breakdown because they're 100% correct. There are car dealerships, there are restaurants, there's all kinds of stuff around Stillwater that you can go hit up to get more money if you want to get a deal done. Yeah. Right. You can hit up local podcasts and say, hey, we want to, be able to come on an interview for a payment. You can do all of that stuff. That stuff is available. Just don't go to the collectives because they ain't going to give you no money. Because NIL is about name, image, and likeness. Go do some marketing deals. Nothing wrong with that. If you can get a national brand to do it, the agent can get with national brands. Do that. It's available. But I get what Gundy's trying to say with that. Now, on Finebaum's comment, the fascinating thing behind that is, how much, John, do you believe that Oklahoma State's going to be kind of reliant on Oklahoma, especially when it comes to tourism? I know you made a comment about that a while back, and a lot of people had some things to say. And they were all over that post. I think it's got over 100,000 views so far.
Yeah, so, I don't know, a year ago, said something on Twitter about how the Stillwater economy might miss Oklahoma coming to town. And listen, they sold out all their games. Congrats to the Oklahoma State fan base and to Stillwater and all that. They're going to be a fine football town. Mm-hmm. They are a great college football town. They'll do great numbers. I think where Finebaum's a little bit off on this is there's no difference, I don't think, for Oklahoma State with Oklahoma in the conference or out of the conference. I think, if anything, maybe Oklahoma State gets a bit of the boost on the recruiting trail because, and even over the last 3 years, because they beat Oklahoma twice in the last 3 years. So they do get a bit of a boost with Oklahoma leaving because now they have a chance to kind of be a power in the Big 12, and they're my pick to win the Big 12 in 2024. We'll do our conference, picks on tomorrow's show, but you've got stability in Mike Gundy, who's had a lot of success, even though there haven't been many Big 12 titles. There haven't been any college football playoff appearances. You could make an argument they deserved to be in the BCS championship game more than a decade ago, and the committee found a way to put Bama in that slot. But, he's been really, really good. There's very few coaches that have the sustained track record that Mike Gundy has. So I don't think this really changes much for Oklahoma State. except you just don't have Bedlam, you know? And I'm not going to sit here and say that Stillwater, listen, I'll eat my words. I'll eat my tweet that Stillwater will suffer because Oklahoma fans won't be going to Stillwater every other year. That's fine. I'll eat that tweet. I just want Bedlam. That's really where I come from in all of this, is I think having those regional rivalries, even if Oklahoma State's not Oklahoma's top rival, Bedlam is an important game for the fabric of local college football, for this region's college football. That's I'm going to miss not having Bedlam this year. I know a lot of Oklahoma fans don't care. They say they don't care. That's fine. But as somebody who kind of grew up mostly just as a college football fan before I became an Oklahoma fan, I love in-state rivalries. I love them. Texas A&M. I loved watching that game. Dat win. And going up against Ricky Williams, like that was such a phenomenal matchup. Like I loved the idea of Bedlam. I loved, the Florida State, Miami, all those games that go on all the time, whether they're in the same conference or not. I love that South Carolina and Clemson play each other every year, whether they're in the same conference or not. I was ecstatic when Pitt and West Virginia reunited for the backyard brawl.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff. And that's not an in-state. That's like 90 miles away.
Right. Just like us.
Yes.
And right.
These regional rivalries, they matter. And listen, Stillwater's going to be just fine. Again, they'll be just fine. But for me, the college football fan, I want Bedlam back.
And I get where you're going with that, right? Me, I'm on the fence of, I like the regionalness of college football. That's what makes college football so much fun, is having that regional feel and having that rivalry where you go to work with the people that are fans of the opposite team. Like that's the best part about like the Iron Bowl and Bedlam, and honestly, in a way, Red River, right? Even though it's across the border, you still have Oklahoma people that live in North Texas because we own North Texas. That's our land technically. And then you've got Texas people that come to Oklahoma, for some, reason or whatnot. But you can jab at them at work when you see each other post game, pre game. Like everybody goes back and forth on social media right now, but it's even better when you can do it in person. So I get where that is missed. I don't know if. I guess this is my question is going to be is how well traveled will these Big 12 teams be when it comes to coming to Oklahoma? That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, I mean, I think like teams like Utah, BYU, they'll travel well. Will Cincy? Does Baylor? I don't know. UCF. UCF's got one of the largest enrollments of all Big 12 teams. I think their enrollment is something like 50, 60,000 at their university. So it's by far the largest enrollment. So they have a huge, huge fan following. Will they travel? That's a big question. But
that's the question.
But again, I think to me, and this might get a lot of hate and a lot of, a lot of people angry with me.
Yes.
I think the Big 12 kind of represents a lot of what college football is, right? It's these small towns like Ames, Morgantown, Lawrence, Manhattan, Stillwater, Provo, Salt Lake. Nice. It's these small college towns that don't have anything else going on, USC fans. They don't have anything else going on, making the whole week and especially the weekend all about college football. The Big 12 will thrive regardless of what the future of college football looks like because of that. Yeah. They are much more like the SEC, the Big 10 than the Pac-12. The Pac-12 fell apart because you're in a region that people just don't care. They care in the Big 12. And so whether or not, not having Bedlam will affect Stillwater or not, who knows? I'm not an economist. I'm not part of the local government there. I can't tell you that. What I can tell you is the Big 12 has a bunch of passionate fan bases, and Stillwater and Oklahoma State is one of those, that it's going to continue to do well. And as somebody who, again, grew up on Big 12 football as a teenager in college, I'm still kind of rooting for the Big 12 to be good. Now, it's a much different conference than what it was in 1996, 7 when I moved to Texas and started watching Big 12 football on Saturdays. But it's still Big 12 football. And it's still, again, a game dominated by these college towns.
That's true. That's true. Hey, you're better than me, though. I'm just, Big 12, Big 12, whatever. I do want to see what Colorado does, right? I've been a Deion Sanders fan since I was a kid, and so I'm really intrigued on what product he puts out there on the field. So, but everybody else, well, I guess we did pass the mantle to Utah.
Yeah. Well, so back, and this is going on, and we should be wrapping up the show, but back when I was just a college football fan, before I met my wife, who is an OU alum times 2, and I just loved watching college football. I remember Colorado, Nebraska in the Big 12, late in the season, big time matchup. And Andre Gerard, former Dallas Cowboy great Andre Gerard, just shoving a Nebraska defensive lineman through the back of the end zone, up into the pylon in the back wall, like up against the pads. Like, I was loving Big 12 football, regardless of the team, because it was just great football. It was fun to watch. It was balanced. You had physicality. You had spread offenses. You had all of it. You had great run games. Anyway, again, going long-winded, just love Big 12 football. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Make sure you email us at lockedonsooners@gmail.com with all of your hate mail based on this segment. You can tag us and follow us at Locked On Sooners on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, or X/Twitter. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports, myself, personal account at John9Williams. Them DMs are open, so you can hit me up there as well. I won't screenshot and post them. It's a safe place.
I will.
Jay might, but it's a safe place with me. You can vent all your frustrations about everything I said in the last 12 minutes about that. Comment in the YouTube section. How much do you hate the Big 12? Are you looking forward to its demise? Or do you think that the Big 12 will be just fine like I do and look forward to watching it on Saturdays, regardless of Oklahoma's affiliation with the Big 12? Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube, so hit that notification bell over there to let you know when new episodes drop. You can join us in the Locked On Sooners Insider Program by texting SEC 2024 to 405-817-6711, and you can get 25% off your first month after a 2-week free trial period. And that's where you can shoot us messages. You can interact with us. You can answer some of our questions. You can send us mailbag questions of your own, topics you'd like to hear us discuss here on Locked On Sooners. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll catch you then. Boomer
Sooner.